Yeah, I know. Let's be legit.
Being 7 o'clock, I will call the council meeting and committee session of the Mechanicsburg Borough Council to order, and we will start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Miller.
Here.
Vice President Anthony.
Present.
Councilwoman Iverson. Here. Councilwoman Booker.
Here.
Councilwoman Martin. Here. Councilman O'Neill.
Here.
Mayor Ritter.
Here.
Elizabeth Cassidy.
Present.
Public Works Director Lair.
Here.
Engineer Goldsky.
Here.
Chief Myers. Here. Chief Ness.
Here.
EMC Ward.
Here.
Treasurer James. Here. We have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any items to add or remove from the consent agenda or regular agenda? I believe there are two. We have, in front of you, you will see two new hires with an effective date of 7/16/22. And Sue Cannon, full manager, apologize for not getting these to us sooner, but she would like to add these to the agenda to have them approved by council. You can see the rates and the status and the names on the memo. I would suggest that that be added to the consent agenda as the last item on the consent agenda. The other item for the regular agenda is the resolution in front of you for approving the emergency replacement of approximately 260 feet of stormwater sewer pipe located in the vicinity of 415 and 417 Darla Road for discussion and possible action. Any other changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, are there any changes or amendments to the proposed minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved with the two additions.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Agerton seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The agenda is approved. Moving on to citizens' comment. Is there any citizens' comments? Hearing none. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda items. Is there a motion for the approval of the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Vice President Anthony moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Booker seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the regular agenda. Approval of Resolution 1522 in support of the Walkworks grant. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Agerton makes the motion. Is there a second? Second. Mr. O'Neill seconds. Any discussion? The only discussion that I will add is that I was contacted by the Department of Health because of there was an omission in our application, and they coordinated with us to rectify that, and this resolution will clear that up. That's it. There's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is action to approve a contract with Virtual Labs for body camera software for the Mechanicsburg Police Department at a price of $50 a month per officer at a cost not to exceed $3,500 for 2022 and not to exceed $9,000 for 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Ms. Agerton makes a motion. Vice President Anthony seconds. discussion?
The only thing I had a question about was like, I know that we have other contracts that span multiple years and stuff like that, but, are we okay with, approving something for the next fiscal year? An agenda item like this?
It's reasonable to approve the contract that extends beyond the current fiscal year. It's something that have to be budgeted for in the line item for the upcoming budgets.
Any other discussion or questions? I think Lieutenant Curtis provided sufficient amount of information and a nice presentation. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to discussion possible action on resolution 17-22, approving the emergency replacement of approximately 260 feet of stormwater sewer pipe located in the vicinity of 415 and 417 Darwood Road. You'll see that before you tonight. I received this as an addition to the agenda in the memo from Superintendent Huey, and he's not here yet to discuss it. I think Engineer Rogowski could speak to the issue as well.
Absolutely, Mr. President. So about a week ago, we received a report of a sinkhole that apparently opened up at the 417 Darla in the front yard. We went out and took a look at it. You know, at the time of inspection, the hole was only about this big on the surface. Subsequently, shoved the tape measure down there and went down 12 feet, so we knew something was up. And then did a little more poking around. You can clearly see that sinkhole was underneath our storm sewer system. And that particular piece of storm sewer runs between Sharon and Darla, in between the houses. So very tight kind of corridor, houses on both sides for a total of 4 in that particular vicinity. So when we were able to open up and kind of get a light in there, you were able to see that the storm sewer, on the exterior in that particular location was actually completely gone. And had rotted away. It's an old corrugated metal pipe, likely installed, probably when the subdivision was actually constructed back in, I don't know when. So they gave Rodell to come out and do a little more, digging around in terms of what's going on, and then this report was a result of, their investigation of that entire pipe run. So that 260 feet that President Miller mentioned actually spans all the way from Sharon to Darla, would include the replacement of that entire pipe. Corrugated metal pipe is not watertight, much less when it's thrusted through. Even the joints in general are not watertight. So if you're familiar with sinkhole activity, the number one issue is sinkhole activity causing additional sinkholes of water leaking out of the pipe in order to create those things. So replacement with an HDPE product, the black corrugated pipe you see all over the place, provides a watertight gasket. So that will provide a reasonable amount of protection against future sinkholes in that area. And even today, when I drove by, the opposite side on Sharon, you can see there's certainly settlement in the yard that would suggest perhaps that something else is going on. So I think it's reasonable to, move forward with the replacement of that entire section if we're going to be out there to do it. Certainly the cost to do that as one mobilization is far less than trying to do it piecemeal in 2 or something like that. So, there's 2 logical endpoints. One, obviously, being the manhole in Darla where we're tying in, and then also the opposite end, which would be in Sharon Street. It's 36-inch CHNX, right?
What's down there?
36, yeah.
Yeah,
It's pipe. It's not pipe.
One inch bigger, yeah.
You have a ballpark estimate on the cost?
About $90,000.
And that's coming out of stormwater?
Yes, and so it's worth noting that since the transfer of sewer assets from the borough to the authority, about the maintenance agreement between the borough and the authority, this would be the first opportunity for council to actually approve a stormwater repair project of this magnitude since that transaction took place. Per the management agreement with the municipal authority, these repairs would be paid out of the enterprise fund for storm sewer.
Any other questions?
How fast will that happen?
There's a piece of equipment sitting out there right now and a piece of pipe, we're gonna need more pipe. It'll probably take a little while to get the pipe, just, given those considerations, so I'm thinking a couple of weeks unless CAT heard something different from Dave.
Yeah, definitely, no more than a week, probably till they can get supplies, if they can get that pipe.
Yeah.
And then, they were estimating at 110 feet, 6 days, so if they go all the way to the next lot, at double the time, maybe, there are some, not privacy fences, but some fencing and maybe landscaping, trees. The people at 417 are happy to accommodate, they're happy that something is being paid attention to. We haven't talked to anybody else behind that, but it's gotta be done if it gets approved.
Two other items to commit to. Number one, we have a parallel sanitary sewer in that same general vicinity, so clearly any single activity presents a risk to it. It's going kind of the opposite direction in the same area. And this is also not the first issue we've had at this particular location in Mechanicsburg, so.
I believe we need a motion.
So moved.
Vice President Anthony makes a motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Booker seconds. Any further discussion? I think Mr. Baker's just walked in the room. We're approving the motion on the Darla Road.
That's what I figured was going on. I'm glad you're doing that, because the last time that broke, it put water in our basement.
Thank you. Let's take action on it. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the regular agenda items. And at this particular time, before we head into committee meetings, I would like to present the resolution 16-22, memory of Robert Moyer to Moyer family. You'll talk to them. So this evening, Council passed Resolution 16-22, which states, whereas in the power and infinite wisdom of the Almighty, a loyal and longtime borough resident, volunteer, and dedicated citizen, Robert R. Moyer, has been called from our fellowship by death, and whereas Robert R. Moyer was a lifetime member of Mechanicsburg Fire Department, contributing countless hours of dedication in helping save life and protecting property of borough residents. And whereas Borough Council acknowledges the valuable service performed by Mr. Moyer through his leadership roles as the Department Chief for Washington Fire Company, the Assistant Borough Fire Chief from 1976 to 1989, and in supporting the formation of Mechanicsburg Volunteer Fire Department. And whereas he served our community with diligence and commitment, coordinating fire and rescue efforts in the borough and surrounding municipalities. Now therefore be it resolved by the council and officials of the Borough of Mechanicsburg, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, and with the power of the authority of the same, that we record our deepest sense of loss in the death of Robert R. Moyer, and that we extend with our deepest sympathy to the family who are mourning the loss of a loved one. Do here affix our signatures below in Resolution 16-22 in recognition of making the Borough of Mechanicsburg a good place to live. This is a resolution of the council, signed by all the council and passed this evening.
Much appreciated.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
for your loss, and
Thank
if
you.
you'd like to say anything at this time, you're welcome to.
I remember growing up with my dad as one of the fire chiefs here, and, certainly there was a lot of hours dedicated to the town and to training and to obtaining their first tower truck. I can distinctly remember a time where we were going to go out and do something as a family, and of course my dad got a fire call, and I remember very briefly discussing what to do, and we all agreed that he needed to go and to, you know, do his duty here in the town, and we were happy to do that. So we grew up with scanners throughout the house, and I think all of us as kids, as family, were very proud of the work he did here. Certainly there were great friendships, particularly with my dad and Gary's dad. I didn't see this coming, we didn't see this coming, but we are deeply appreciative of all of you taking the time to, you know, recognize our dad who died suddenly a few days ago. So thank you so much.
Sure. I'm sorry for your loss and appreciate your dad's service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to our stage, Vice President Anthony, Finance Administration and Ordinance.
So there's a couple of votes tonight. First, y'all received a copy of the Treasury Report last meeting. Mr. Garrett, who's on the committee, isn't here, so, Mr. President Miller, you're on the committee. Any thoughts, comments, concerns, things you want to talk about?
No.
Anybody else on council? All right. Thank you to the treasurer for putting that together for us. Update on the 2021 Borough Audit Report. I think all of you saw that President Miller received the two-page report from our auditors, and
Yes. I had the opportunity to discuss it with Treasurer James, and we will try to set up a time in the future, which will be an executive session, to discuss it with Hamilton and Mercer, just kind of establishing that as a routine practice moving forward.
thank you. Last vote to discuss for discussion on proposal for grant research and quality services. I haven't seen anything come across on this.
I think it came for the last meeting, so it would have been in that packet,
Okay.
but we can continue.
Put it on for next week.
Put it on.
Next week. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. I believe that's all I have.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works and Safety, Councilman Duker.
All right, so we will start with a sanitary sewer department report. I believe that there is one in your packet from Engineer Vinsky, who could not be here this evening. And in the, there was an update on the wastewater treatment plant fine screen project, wastewater treatment plant NPDES permit renewal, HRD inspection of some sanitary connections in Legacy Park, Legacy Park commercial facilities update with some of the pieces over there, and yeah, and that would be the end of the general report from there. Then we have C.H. Lair here this evening to provide a Public Works Department report. Chief said 2 weeks.
Sure, how long?
Set the time.
Couple minutes? Should I discuss anything having to do with the line painting right now, or wait?
But no, you can discuss that now, yes, in your report.
Okay, successful things, projects that are nearing toward completion. Everybody might know we received a donation of a brand new cold storage shed that was provided completely with funds donated by the Mechanicsburg Swim Club. The total cost for that was $9,345, which they graciously donated on behalf of the borough and through a handshake and a thank you, turn it over to us. Now Public Works will maintain it. The old sheds were there for 34, 37, nearly 40 years. So if anybody had been down there, they saw the condition of those, which were getting to the point of being in danger. The shed was built and delivered by Fisher Structures. It's a 14 by 24 foot. So we actually increased our storage there. We have already installed a partition wall directly down the middle, so it's just like it was before, two areas, one for the swim club, one for the pool. Coach Mike Blumack was kind enough to donate his time working with myself and the borough. He came to me originally, the former borough manager, and it was about a year, I think we really worked on this, that, good things coming out of the way, I guess. So that is installed, the fence has been completely resecured and everything like that. Public Works Department took care of all that stuff. We had about 10 hours total into demolition and tear down and replacement of the fence. Well, we didn't replace anything, we just put it back in place. So we didn't actually spend any money on that either. So that was a plus. I'd like to say the employee appreciation luncheon was well received, and I seemed the Public Works employees did appreciate it. I did. We all had a good time. So the employees, wastewater treatment as well. We missed it.
Some people have to work.
And they have planted some good seeds with Public Works employees to build better internal relationships with employees outside the Public Works Department. I think that, they really, it was nice, in short. We're in the final stages. This is projects nearing completion, large projects that have been planned for, a year. Final stages, we're kind of doing phase 1 of 2 on our large park shed, which is located the northwest portion of Memorial Park. We have removed rotten wood from the lower portion of it to expose the original block masonry construction underneath, which I think may have been donated originally by Perry Road Tech. Not sure when, 90s or earlier. Somebody else might know a little more about that than I do. We have repaired, sealed, primed, and are in the process of finished painting. And we're going to put heavy-duty, weatherproof materials like steel, probably from the block up. So the building is 60 by 45 feet. It's a very large building. So we've been working really hard on that. We're finishing that up, so that's a good thing. Crosswalk and traffic control painting is going to commence next week. We've got to finish up what we're doing here so that I can pull 3 men probably off of that. As you know, we have 2 pretty new and maybe another. So we're nearing a more complete workforce. We'll be able to kind of get back to where we were when I started almost 2 years ago as far as division of labor and things like that. So I guess while we're talking about the line painting, just briefly, won't take too much time on it. I guess, did anybody else see any of the major complaint, or was anybody, of course, there are always complaints.
Maybe we could reserve that for the discussion on pedestrians.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Gotcha.
I just saw that.
Okay. Preparation for Community Day is completely in place, well planned. Jane Drake and I have communicated a lot on that. Initially, I satisfied all her questions, and luckily I had one time through, second rodeo on this one. All the notes were fine for me because, the computer and the recording process that I go through. Special thanks to the Mechanicsburg Agway. I don't think anyone from the Agway is here, but the owner, Tim Bergman, again, he donates straw bales, which we get from him. take the set out for the, ball players for the old-time baseball the old-time baseball exhibition game. Curtis and his department will provide use of their John Deere Gator for volunteer transportation, emergency communication type activities for the event. Public Works employees are scheduled to be on hand in the morning and post-event for the setup and the cleanup. The chili cook-off, which happened this past weekend, was a pretty big event. I don't know, I saw Nate there briefly. I don't know if anybody else attended.
Yeah, it was, they
Oh, yeah, I saw
were
it.
very grateful for everything that you did. They were nervous about it.
They were, it appears they were very respectful, and we did what we could to provide, additional trash receptacles, which was a big concern. I think last year we weren't prepared for it, but that's another thing that we've been doing for our parks is, very modestly and inexpensively upgrading and providing more trash receptacles, which seems to be going really well. Of course, they need to obviously apply for the correct permit next year. So, no big deal. Everything seemed to have worked out fine, and no damages were done, and I think everybody who attended made it out of there safely. As far as Public Works equipment, specifically our heavy equipment, which we have a few items, I'm having several repairs done to our backhoe, which is, it's got a front end loader and the arm on the back for excavation purposes. We use that mainly, well, one of its main uses is for the salt loading during salting processes, prior, during, post snow or ice events. We actually just caught it just in time, apparently. We nearly had an accident with it because, the salt corrodes everything. It's a 2006 model, so you can do the math. We're coming up on 20 years, which is about a good service, time of service for that. We'll move into that in another couple of years. I think we can maintain the machine now with several $1,000s instead of several $100,000 type repairs moving forward. We're doing work on our heavy equipment. We're maintaining all, our regular equipment, such as our trucks, things like that. And I think that as far as our MS4 requirements or our I don't know if we would get penalized yet. I don't know that's how that really goes. But once you join the party, you kind of have to abide by the rules. But it seems like that's going really well. Curtis Huey, his department, and Barbara Arnold, she is newly in place, and I think that seems to be going really well. They've already performed some duties in the field, and that's going to be a good thing for our record keeping. That things need to be kept up with as far as that type of housekeeping item. I don't really have anything else at the moment, unless anybody has any questions.
All righty, thank you very much. Superintendent Huey, is there anything you'd like to highlight from the report you provided?
First of all, I am extremely sorry I was late. I was thinking 7:30 and not 7. The report I provided, our main permit for discharging treated wastewater into the kind of agreement is the NIPD's National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. DEP required pretty extensive testing for our permit renewal. There were a few straggling tests we needed to do. We've completed those and resubmitted the data to the state. We expect to hear back from them, but not necessarily anytime soon. It could be a few months until that happens. We cleaned an inlet this morning. It was an inlet located at Locust and Frederick. It was completely full of gravel. Once we got the gravel out, we looked at it. Most notably, it looks like we couldn't get our we couldn't get water to drain. We had the Vector truck, so we tried to push our spray nozzle through it. Vector's what we use to open sewer lines when they get clogged. We weren't able to get into this particular storm sewer with the Vector, so it might just be debris, it might be collapsed. We will take a look at that when we can. The other thing is, the way the storm sewers are configured don't match our maps. So when we can, that's something else we'll look into with the proper equipment. And I kept Justin's stuff separately. Justin's out with COVID, but he did send a report that you guys should have received.
Yes, we did.
The big thing was the storm sewer at Darla between 7:15 and 7:17.
Just for your, we did take action on that road because the action item comes before all the reports. So we did take action on that tonight, so that we did authorize Borough to go ahead with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a question as to how that would be funded.
It would be from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I won't rehash that very much. Yeah, I do believe that we should definitely make that repair.
If I may, to be clear, there was an approval for the replacement of the full 260 feet.
It was, okay. The estimate I gave you was 110 feet.
Mm-hmm. I think we did that so that in case you had to go for the 260, that you had approval to do that if needed. Like you didn't want to get into the situation of you get in and you find out you have to do more.
Yeah, I was expecting the estimate to be for the full 260. What Rodell's employees were saying was that all the joints are separated in the storm sewer, and the way it goes up and down, you think there might be more sinkholes upstream from where they're working. So I do believe that's the best. I don't know what it's going to cost.
And also for the benefit of the public, I think it's important to note that the work is being done under a competitively bid contract with Rodell for emergency stormwater sewer repairs, which is a time and materials contract.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Ewing. We will move on to our committee items on the public works. So I'll kick it over to Engineer Rogolski to touch on this, and then if you have any engineer report that you'd like to provide that kind of fill in any of the things we've already discussed, then you can do so.
Kind of two items specifically this evening I wanted to talk to council about. Number one, we've been having ongoing discussions about the capital improvement infrastructure plan. We talked to a couple of members of council, and I think what I'm going to ask council to consider is having some type of workshop meeting where we can discuss that topic specifically. We, of course, have gone through the borough, identified areas. They've actually been painted on the ground, things like that. But we do have some questions in terms of, for example, alleys and some other, specific scope items that, probably be more beneficial to have that conversation all in one and just specific to that topic. So, we're thinking that in terms of timing, whether that's late August or early September, sometime in there, that would give us, then time to turn around in September to finish the bid package and then kind of proceed down the path where we were at discussing previously. So, bituminous didn't go up as much. How about that? Hopefully, this discussion we had previously holds, and that'll start to come down. So that I would ask council to consider, perhaps a separate date in terms of that. I would hope that it would be, an hour-ish type of meeting. At least that's what the intent would be. But also, I think in terms of, we're picking the first group of work out of a much broader pool of work. So I want to make sure that council is aware of what work is being done. When you get that inevitable question, why did they stop there or why did they do this, you're able to answer that question. So from the citizen. And item two, we're continuing with our design work on the Keller and, George Street project. We're running into a couple of utility issues in terms of response from utilities, but that continues to be ongoing, and we hope to have that project together for, some type of action here later this fall. So,
If you look into your crystal ball, can you see when the county may be awarding their grants?
I don't, but I got a sense, all it was a sense that,
Don't be shy of my report.
no, but I thought,
Yeah. That kind of what I would say,
yeah, I like it.
Just to note, I saw an article today about Ferry Township that they had repaved, and then UGI came in right after that. So I know that's something to always think about, that they ripped up all the newly paved roads without repair.
We do have some protections in place in our current ordinance that, not prevent it, but make them responsible first.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of that, Darla, I was down there today, and Darla's brutal.
Yeah.
With the storm, with the
We did a walkthrough. It's been a good 2 months now, probably, in terms of the final restoration for that project, particularly that first stretch of Darla. The intent was to actually repave that curb to curb as part of that, from Darla. The portion of Darla, like in the shared area and stuff like that, so, but no, I think that's a good, that was actually on our list too, you know what I mean, so, that's just a good example of what we're targeting, the type of road we're targeting for our own projects.
Thank you. So we're gonna move on to discussion on street sweeping options, so kind of open up, floor for that.
I distributed the proposal from Evercore to everyone, and they, Borough manager had initiated this question with Evercore, and the proposal is for $173 an hour, which is all inclusive of personnel, fuel, and the equipment rental. So I wanted to put that out to council and the committee and see if you had interest in inviting them to the next council meeting to discuss their proposal and ask them questions.
I would be interested in having them.
We can do that.
All right, so we'll move into the public safety department reports. I know police, Chief Myers, Fire Chief Neff, and EMC Wardle have all provided written reports. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight from your reports? I'll kind of roll down that same line, from Chief Myers to Chief Neff to EMC Wardle, and see if there's anything particular you'd like to highlight from your written report. We'll start with Chief Myers.
No, mine's abbreviated just because of it being the second, just being able to gather some of that information up pretty quick, so you'll get the rest of it once it's all completed. And I did have one thing that is not on the agenda. I just want to just talk real quick about it, and then you want to see if you can take a look at it. We were approached by a national company. They've been calling every year trying to get us to sign up with them. It's a risk management group that will do policy and procedure for us. It's Pennsylvania specific, and moving us towards being able to get accredited. Because of our insurance company being EMC, to get a 15% discount off the top. And then once we go with them, the borough should get another discount on the policy, because we've gone with these guys to do training, and then once we get accreditation, there should be another discount. And so, it's based on the number of officers, and with there's the number are all here, but the one other thing is, it does it two ways. One, you you can load all of your stuff in, or two, they can, for a one-time fee, and it's not cheap, but the one-time fee, they load it all in, they keep track of all the updates, they keep track of, like, we have to keep the old manual that was in place. Before that, going, I don't know how far back, probably at least 2 years, in case something comes up that we have to look and say, well, this was the policy in place at the time. We're keeping our manuals now, but we are having a hard time, kind of staying up with it, because it's still got some, we don't want our new people to read policies from 2003. So, I got a lot of information from this company. I will send it all to you so you can take a look, and I apologize, for not actually getting it on the agenda. I had a little bit of miscommunication with Mrs. Martin there about this one, so, I didn't send it anything else. So she didn't know it was coming. I thought I did, but I didn't. So, I'll make sure you get everything I have on this, and then you get a chance to take a look at it. And they told us we can, split the one-time fee. The one-time fee is $12,000. But when you look at it over man-hours that we're gonna save just from not having to keep track of all that and worry about it, it's gonna probably be a lot. So, I'll send it. You guys can ask me questions if you want them.
Chief, I correct in that system then would help us eventually with requirements to obtain our accreditation?
Yes, they'll do accreditation-specific policies. They'll even help us with the documentation for the policies that accreditation wants. So it sounds to me like that it's a very good first step towards getting that done.
Very good.
And that's it.
Chief Myers, then we'll move over to, Fire Chief Knapp.
My favor would everybody receive my report, Mr. Mayor, pretty much just some of the stuff that we did within the last month, we'll tell you, this is what, we talked with the fire department. I would like to recognize at this time, the alert was at 1 o'clock last night with the police at a cardiac arrest for all the work with highway lately. Lately, with the fire department, we experienced a really good relationship, and as far as working together with the department heads and their staff. And I just wanted to throw that out there, shout out to CH and Chief Myers and the rest of them, and Director Huey. We're all seeing it as we're trying to pull everything together and make the borough run sufficient we can. So I just wanted to say thanks, guys, for helping. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then EMC Wardle.
Sure, I'll highlight a few things. Rebecca, I was about to ask Gary when he would hear back on his grant that he applied for, and then I saw the date in your report, and so that's why I was able to easily give it to the engineer. COVID, we've been sitting around about 3,000 cases a day, which I think may be our new normal moving forward for Pennsylvania, and obviously will probably be higher than that during the winter. But that's not the only public health concern that we have right now. We also have monkeypox, which has been declared a global health emergency. The numbers in my report were from July 26th, which is 3,591 cases in Pennsylvania, or 3,591 cases nationwide, 95 in Pennsylvania. As of today, there are 6,326 cases nationwide and 170 in Pennsylvania. The vast majority of those are in the southeast, and this is not a virus that is largely affecting the general population. There are certain risk groups that are most likely to contract monkeypox, but it is something that health officials are certainly aware of and monitoring and trying to get vaccine out. So there is a vaccine for monkeypox, so it's given in 2 doses, similar to a rabies vaccine as far as being a prophylaxis type of vaccine, given to people after they've contracted it. I will certainly answer any questions if anybody has any.
All right, thank you. then we'll move on to our public safety department report, like agenda items. So we have our update on traffic safety concerns.
In case you haven't driven by, your speed signs are up on South Market Street at Marvel. We're approaching Marvel, basically. If you go 26, you'll see the flashing red and blue lights along with your speed. So I travel that road a lot, and I am seeing a lot of brake lights and people slowing down there, at least acknowledging that the signs are there. And then I guess the next thing would be the painting of the crosswalks, which he's got a plan to do that.
Certainly, yeah. I just wanted to say, I stopped by A&B Automotive as well, and I was talking to them, and they were saying that they have seen huge improvement when they do their test inspections for the vehicles. So that's awesome to see that they're like right there too, and they're seeing improvements. It's good stuff.
Sergeant Dyer's making a list of where people would like to see them go. He's making a list.
Thanks. Then we'll speak over to Chief Blair about in regards to public safety or pedestrian safety with our crosswalk painting. You wanna?
So everybody meet me next Monday morning on Filbert Street, that's where we're starting. I'll kind of just outline, I mean, there's a lot of information, I can answer additional questions, I don't want to talk for hours.
So I think you were going to ask whether or not council saw the communication from Mr. Smith, and I did forward that to everyone.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, well then we all know about that. One thing that I do have to say about Mr. Smith's points, as far as, so here's the situation with public works employees, highway, or sewer employees. To my knowledge, they have never until this past year when I decided that we should probably get approved for, traffic control flagging, which is kind of simple, but very scary. In the past, I'm well aware that there are very few records down there as far as what happened, who did what, when. I mean, and maybe it was all tossed, maybe it was not recorded. Clearly, we need paint on the ground because, yes, it does offer like a visual deterrent, like the your speed is signs. And, doesn't mean just jump out on the street. So what I've done, I have 75 gallons of white, fast dry traffic paint approved. I've got 60 gallons of yellow curb paint that doesn't, that's after the fact. We're going to work on the white paint first. The complainant described that, we might wish to consider like the zebra stripes or, we could call them piano keys. That's obviously, much more complicated and much more time consuming and costly because of the paint. We're not sure how far the paint's going to go when we use our ancient sprayer, line painting machine that I've had repaired. It should go much further because it used to take, just your standard house paint roller 4-inch wide, which isn't even legal, it's got to be 6 minimum, and painted on the street, so we're putting more and more, like a ton of paint down. This process that we're hoping to, like I said, commence next week with the spraying, if I get the levels right, my heights, my adjustments, I've got, the proper things, the apparatus for the machine. It's just a small machine, it looks like a lawnmower. You put a bucket of paint on it, it's just like a house paint sprayer. But anyway, it should dry in a manner similar to like what you see when you watch the gigantic PennDOT or other municipalities trucks who have line painting devices like that. So it should dry a lot quicker. We should be able to maximize the volume of and the coverage that we're going to get throughout the town. My initial theory when we first started talking about this at the beginning of the year, which we of course planned to do it, and luckily able to get paint because it's hard to get still. Would be to start near the schools. That's what traditionally has been done. So we're kind of going to use that as our focal points and branch out from there. The words "start in the center of town" were used a couple of times, which that's great too. But that gets me back to traffic control. So I lost 2 of the people who were certified, because one retired, one left us. So I have 2 less certified people who can even legally, somebody comes by even on our own streets and says, hey, what are you doing, where's your card? They don't have it, okay, shut it down, or whatever, I don't know. Doesn't get really ugly, but, you know, they slap you on the wrist, tell you no. As far as doing those on the state roads, that's something that, since I started, was said, don't ever, ever, ever even think that you're painting anything on a state route, even a crosswalk. Should we be able to do that in the future? Probably, yeah. Of course, with proper notification to PennDOT, that's all it takes, and then notification that you're taking the proper measures for the traffic control, which by having our own cards and having been approved, taking safety courses, 4-hour course, it's nothing. A lot of information, and the people who sponsor the courses are very willing to come out and help kind of hold your hand through processes once you can initiate that. I would feel more comfortable trying that on some of our lesser traveled roads rather than popping out on the intersection of Market and, you know, or York and Marble. I mean, it's dangerous. I've been out in the street and have seen someone get hit since I've worked here. Luckily, it was not severe. Pretty scary, just because people don't slow down. So, Greg's provided me with a little bit of information previously about what is proper and what is not. My thoughts are minimally go with the corridor style, 2 stripes. They're supposed to be approximately 90 degrees, you know, perpendicular to the intersection. They are not supposed to be installed, and we do have a few, I think, where there are no ADA compliant areas. So we might skip those for now, but if they're on our streets, what's the big deal? I mean, the paint's there already, kind of. I don't know. That's something we can discuss in the department and Greg or you guys. See where we go and how far we can go with this paint. The plan is to paint, get away from the schools, because school opens at the end of the month. Keep going through September probably, and then while we're in leaf season, which takes up all the time for all the employees basically, and we, you know, do our regular duties as well.
I just have a follow-up question. So I know we have some older, like mid-block crosswalks. The plan is not to repaint those, correct?
If that's what you tell me, kind of thing. I mean, if, like I said, I feel if they're on, let's say it's on Vancouver, I don't know if they're one or not, mid-block, that doesn't have ramps. Should it be painted? Should we tell people? Should we, you know, usher them to that spot to cross? I don't know. Is it safe to do that, or probably not?
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is I know that was a point that was made previously about the mid-block crosswalks not being, I don't know.
ATC compliant, so
yeah.
what the recommendation is the following, that they not be installed as a new crosswalk, certainly. However, of course, there's provisions in there related to existing features, so you're allowed to maintain existing features. I think it comes down to usage. I think it's maybe you hold off and evaluate, are people really using it, you know, because it's much better to have something there versus nothing if people are going to use it anyway. So I would feel much more comfortable in a scenario of justifying that if that was the case. So I think that's what it comes down to.
So my concern is school bus crosswalks, because on sometimes, the 52 West is where I live, there's a bus stop that the kids are traveling on. Would you be able to do that one because it's on Simpson?
Well, having not ever dealt with that, I'm sure it can be done.
Okay, because Simpson, yeah, my concern is the kids in the morning, that's a high target area, and I call the school a lot to ask them not to have the kids cross the street in the morning. But you know how middle school kids are. It is really a danger. You hear squealing all of the time. That intersection, there's lots of car wrecks anyways, so I would highly suggest talking to the school about crosswalks that kids are, bus stops that kids are crossing the street, to kind of coordinate that. To start at the schools, but then, you know, maybe talk about those high skip usage.
In some areas too, I think if we could look at, I'm not sure if this is an option, but look at contracting out for a different type of material, like if it's going down a state road where traffic is increased, then we need some type of different material that lasts longer, and we may not have the,
I have a tiny bit of information for that, to enlighten us all on that. For thermoplastic, which is heat activated, most of it comes in rolls. Here's just a for instance, and this is just a very quick search. I'm sure 30-foot length, which I'm sure they make it in 30 feet because that probably gets you all the way across the street with one roll. 6-inch wide, thermoplastic, hand torch, well, that's no problem. You can get that anywhere. One roll of that, a package of two. So two 30-foot rolls, so I guess that gives you one corridor, $378.
How long does it last?
Don't answer that question.
Pardon?
Just don't answer the question. Depends on the traffic.
Depends on the rolls used in crosswalk.
Okay.
Years, I mean, you're usually looking at a couple of 3 to 5 is what we found in other places. We have moved in most of our municipalities, particularly on state roads, where you get the high traffic volume, and you guys are probably amongst the top, on those corridors, to thermoplastic.
So moving in that direction, yes, looking into pricing, budgeting, I was told there was no bid put out on that process this year for painting. I don't know about thermoplastic applications. That's what I was told.
would there be like put some stars pricing on that?
There's lots out there, to be able to do that, and certainly moving forward, looking at the clog bid is a good option for future years, right? If we're gonna commit to that, and, sliders alone are like $1,000 a day, so, if you're gonna go do it, it's gonna cost you $1,000 just to get there, and you might as well not do it every year, so.
Right, as far as us flagging even right now, we don't have the signs, none. I mean, I have like 2, they're on plywood, which, well, that's dangerous, because if somebody hits it, it becomes a projectile. I don't have sufficient or proper, even street, cones with, so that's one of the reasons why I'm shying away from.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, perfect world, absolutely.
Well, I'm just happy we're getting some of them painted, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a visual thing that, yay, fresh paint, and then we'll monitor the, the wear on them, and obviously, like Greg said, the higher traffic areas clearly need.
Right. Is there any opportunity to like outsource that, the higher traffic intersections where we may want an improved design, like a piano key or?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 games in town, you know what I mean, and certainly it's something you can bid out as a package. But in order to get them here, for it to be cost effective, you wanna do multiple.
Just to give, the highway employees more time and materials to go do other intersections in town, where if there's a proof that we could sub out,
So certainly, in terms of procurement, if you say budget 10,000, let's just pick a number, that's under the requirement in terms of multiple, areas, and that would probably be enough to get somebody in town and get some reasonable work done in, a given year or something like that. So that could be once again, start a rolling cycle. By the time you got all the way around, all the intersections, you'd probably be starting back around, and, that way you continue, down that path.
You'll have them repaid, right?
Well, yeah.
we should look at doing that. Yeah.
That is one of the things that is recorded, that there is an actual file with, the name and contact information of people who have been, I don't know when the last time was, maybe 2012, 14. Seems a lot of things happened between 07 and 14, and then,
Well, the police department would be in favor of the, sometimes we call them zebra stripes or crosshatch or those, or was it like just see, just because they're again, something different than
everywhere. It's not just on the state
Well,
roads.
that could be,
I mean, the state roads, obviously, most of ours are the thermoplastic bricks or whatever the heck those things are. But we could probably do some of that and additional maybe whatever, verbiage, I don't know, we were trying to think about maybe getting away from putting stop, put stop. Bars in, that's the plan as well, right, they start with the crosswalks and then see how the paint supply lasts, and then, okay, go back, and then maybe do a couple, because, it takes some time for us to go out and do the measurements and things like that, unless we have some type of genius or somebody who's willing to give us, here's how you do it really simply. I mean, once you do it a couple times, I'm sure, like anything else. So okay, I'll keep that in mind. So that might not satisfy, but if the person who made the complaint, they also said about additional signage, I mean, sure, that can be done. I mean, how far do you want to go? Do you want to light up every single crosswalk? I
think it seems like you have a direction, and just chipping away at them. And
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, that's great.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, I think that's the end of the public works and safety items. So I'll pass this back over to President Miller.
Thank you. On to municipal and community outreach, Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you. Yes, so regarding the library, Treasurer James and myself will be meeting with the Executive Director earlier this Friday, and we will hopefully have some type of report back next meeting, or next committee meeting at the earliest. School board liaison report.
They have off in July.
They're off in July, that's a nice thing. All right, moving on to committee items. We have, there we go. Update on the website redesign. This is not online, so don't go out to your computers or your phones yet. This is coming soon. Go out and look what is there now, and then look forward to what's coming. So we've been working with our vendor Revise. Systematically, they're taking information that we give them from our committee and our work team to come up with what's important, the content, the way it appears, the way we interact with it, that's most important, but also the look, the colors, so you notice the Mechanicsburg colors, and then the different fonts. I don't know if there's more of that page. It's just a static page. I'm not sure if we can scroll that or not.
I think that's one of the ones,
So we have been benchmarking, of course, other municipal websites, because if someone's doing it well, let's not reinvent the wheel, but also coming up with our own ideas as far as what we need for the community. And so just today, we received the site map, which is just a fancy way of saying how do you want things laid out specifically, so we can move forward. We know this will be something that we'll be able to roll out hopefully at some point soon, but there'll be modifications on the way as we use it, we test it, and we hear feedback from the community and from anyone else who interacts with that website. But I'm excited that this is coming. I think our committee is as well. Any questions from the committee or council? Great.
Thanks for all the hard work, we appreciate it.
Nice look. Have you thought about moving that piece up so that those blocks are more visible and opening?
Thank you. I'm sorry. We can't scroll right now.
So I know you can't scroll.
There's a best practice for that, which is to give people a cue that they need to scroll so that they do scroll, and continue to scroll. So that we talked about that, and that is things they recommend to keep it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Moving on. The committee met with potential vendor Third Element to discuss how to improve the audio-visual arrangements in this room so that we can serve the community better, especially for those who are going to view us and take us in remotely at times, and also for while you're here present, for all those of you who show up. good communication to see we rearrange some of the furniture tonight. We're trying some things out as we're moving forward with perhaps enhanced cameras, enhanced microphone systems, and some other audio-visual TVs. So that work, based on the meeting, we'll get some type of update and proposal, and then the committee will move that forward. Any questions from council?
No, just thanks for your patience while we test out the new seating arrangement, because we are looking at the upgraded camera system, which will be a camera in the back, which will look at council, have this wide of an angle. This room is very difficult to catch on one camera because of how wide the table is. So there'll be a camera there that looks this direction, and there'll be a camera here that looks this direction, which is why in the meeting we decided to go with having additional seating in front of us, which the camera would be able to see, and we wouldn't have to have this huge 180-degree fisheye lens that distorts everyone's faces. So that's what we're thinking and working with moving forward, so I think we're on the right path with that.
Great. All right. The next item is discussion on the important trick-or-treat night. We need to make a decision at some point soon as the fall approaches. Hate to say that for you summer lovers, but our surrounding municipalities aren't all on the same page with the same night, and that doesn't necessarily mean we all have to be, of course, but this is open for discussion.
What day of the week is the 31st?
Monday, yeah.
So I always defer to the police department to see what they think of that, just because I believe that when we can keep it the same day, but every time we do that, the municipalities around us change it at the last minute, so it doesn't happen. And then on behalf of every mother on Facebook, they request a rain date, so. And I know we deny it every time, but I just want the record, send it to every mother that will send me a message. So what do you guys think about Monday evening trick or treat?
Which is the 31st, this
I just got out of it. I have to look and see what the schedule has right now. It's very, very, very tight. It might result in bringing one or two bike guys out on overtime, but, should be, I think the 31st, especially if other municipalities around us are doing it that way.
I'd like to ask that we consider doing what Camp Hill does, which is, you would know every year from now until the end of time what night trick or treat is, and we never have to have this discussion again. Trick or treat occurs on the 31st, unless the 31st falls on a Friday, a Saturday, or Sunday, and then it falls on the Thursday before. It's just simple, and it's Halloween.
So I agree. I agree that we should have a date too. Traditionally, we've always been the third Thursday of every.
Thursday
The third or whatever, yeah, I was in that off. So I don't mind if we make that a rule, but I do think the weekend, having it on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday is not.
Well, that's what you said, it would.
Having an exception.
Right, we'll have an exception.
I like that.
When I moved out of the area for a very short time, and I said to the people who lived around me, when is trick or treat? They said, the 31st, when else would it be? Like, I just think it's strange that in this little area in central Pennsylvania, we have trick or treat on random days.
Well, and I think if we pick a date, it helps with the school too, because, we want them to get them less homework. Because they can go out and eat as much sugar as they can before they return to the factory.
I can assure you that nobody gets homework on trick or treat night,
Yeah.
in my professional experience.
Perfect. But I think what happens is, because we have kids that go, you have several municipalities that go to school districts, when you have kids going out on multiple days, it makes it difficult. So I like having it. We could encourage the other municipalities not to change either, and just stick with their.
I think we did a little survey, and there are other municipalities that do not change 2, Silver Spring and Monroe have their dates on the 31st. And Upper Island does as well, but theirs is the Thursday before. So,
Usually the Thursday is that's your like heavy day, Chief, isn't it? When you have lots of people on that day, it's always Thursdays.
Yes.
So I think that was part of the reason why we said Thursday last year, was because we have extra people on, it's not an additional cost to incur in Borough, so that's just something there.
But I'm not opposed to having it be Halloween night, so we know exactly when it's gonna be.
And then would you be okay with going forward with the 31st except for if it, and then we have it all on Thursday night?
You'll have to explain that to me when it's up for.
Every year.
except we deal with that.
Yeah.
So if the committee will make a recommendation to have it on the agenda for the next meeting for the 31st.
Or set the policy.
Set the policy.
Set the policy 31st every year except the fall sun.
Except being the
I got it.
Thursday before.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
When
you.
the Halloween falls on.
So we have it during the day, or no, I'm just kidding.
And rain date?
They don't have a cutoff, it's whenever people run out of candy, they turn off their light, it'll go on.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
And
And I think this is my report, thank you.
Yeah. Community and economic development, someone is taking this.
That's me. I am Mr. Burek, Councilman Burek tonight.
Oh, boy.
I will make this short and sweet.
we like that.
So, I am to call on, Ms. Rebecca Urich to go over your handy-dandy little thing that we all love tonight.
I too appreciated the appreciation luncheon, and I met I wasn't there on reconnaissance or to do any, but I met a coming business owner, and she is mentioned in my report. I've had a number of meetings in the last month for about base projects. Most of them are smaller projects. I met with the library regarding their new location across the street here. That is not within our eligibility area, but sometimes we look at those projects and see what they'll add to the downtown or just off downtown area, so that will be considered. The big one that we're looking at is Don Steele's property on South Market Street, Dugan Appraisal and Dugan Real Estate. He had a project in mind. I don't believe the HARB would go along with that, and but he's open to ideas, so we continue to work, and that could very well end up being instead a Cumberland Street View project as opposed to an about-face project. Moving down to under business and property updates, as I said last month, Cristiano Winery on Main has closed. A new winery, companion winery, that will still carry Cristiano products, by the way, will open in September. It's called Totem Pole Winery on Main. The owners live in Carlisle, and that's where they do their production. Like the Cristianos, they weren't able to sell at their production facility. There's a zoning issue there, and that's what brought them to downtown. Working with them for an about-face grant to provide signage at that location. The American Legion, Post 109, the state's largest, has purchased the Lumbee bag processor's property at the corner of North York and West Allen Streets for parking and at some point additional building facilities. That property was purchased a couple years ago by 3 partners who own other properties on that same block of West Allen. Those are residential rental properties. Chapter Crepe, is moving to Camp Hill, expanding, tripling their size. We have a number of people who are interested in that location. I know that borough officials have met with one potential applicant. I've had another entity that's going through that. A lot of people are very interested in keeping that food and drink. There are a couple issues related to that space, though. It's very small. It doesn't have gas. A lot of people like to cook with gas. So those are some things, you can ventilate that and space, and we know that because we had someone who looked at it 2 or 3 years ago that would require that, and we met with borough officials and the gentleman, the owner of SMI Manufacturing in Carlisle, who makes the ventilation equipment and ventilates it and so forth, and it is doable. It just takes additional space out of that, what is now the kitchen area. So we continue to look at that. Greg, I believe that you spoke with a potential applicant, had a meeting with a potential applicant a couple weeks ago, so I'll circle back with you to see what happened there. Kelly's Corner, that's home to Zydarelli's and Happy Garden and the medicine shop. That's been sold. The new owner reportedly was to have an salon in the one vacant space there, and went about at what was listed Marathon Barbershop. Marathon indeed, they're open 7 days a week, walk-ins or appointments. That is next to Massimo's Italian Bakery, Pizza Hut property, that little building that Jim Geedy and a partner own. The Fairy Fest is September 10th through 11th, followed by the Tea Festival at Sweet Remembrances and the Rosemary House. And as I mentioned last month, the county commissioners last week took a look at all of the community development block grant recommendations, one from Mechanicsburg Borough for Center Square, $100,000, and that was advanced. I don't want to say approved because it's not approved yet. It advances to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Corporation, but I'm not aware of any that have moved on that have been turned away or declined. That's what I have. Anything for me? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Planning Commission Liaison Report. There was no meeting in the last 30 days, and there's nothing to report. Then I'm to call on, well, I was going to call on Councilman Anthony about the Huffman loan, but it seems like that is all taken care of. Yes, the payment was made, and
As far as I know, I spoke with Ms. Huffman. She said that she mailed in enough to bring her back up to date. I also spoke with her again today after speaking with Ms. Yerk. Ms. Yerk said that they have electronic capacity for her to make payments, so I reached out to her and let her know that Ms. Yerk arranged for somebody to reach out to Ms. Huffman to set that up. So we should be in good shape going forward.
all right. So we don't have anything to move to. It says refer Borough Council for possible action next meeting, but
We're good.
we're taken care of.
Yep.
Excellent. Okie dokie. Harb, anything from Harb?
We met last night. We're continuing to work on the application process. They're going to have another planning session to be scheduled in the next 2 weeks before the next meeting. We did meet with a project. We'll be presenting recommendations at the next Borough Council.
Okay, excellent. And also DMP?
Just that they started their Concerts on the Lawn series this past weekend. Christian Yeager performed. We had a pretty good attendance. There was about 50 folks out there supporting him, so we're excited for that. And we had Mr. Phelan selling hot dogs and sausages out there too, so he was excited to be out and about talking to everyone. So a really great space, and I think that we're looking forward to many more musical talents from Mechanicsburg to be performing out there. And don't forget, we have Community Day this weekend. If anyone is bored and wants to volunteer, we're still looking for some volunteers down there. And I do know that they were very happy with the response that they got. No issues with Community Day, so it's 10 to 3, so, you know, everyone is invited. Please come out and show your support.
Also, another word on Community Day. Although the pool will not be open for swimming, there's going to be free yoga in the pool grounds, in the grass around the pool. So
Laura, do you know what time the yoga is?
It'll be starting between like 10:15, 10:30. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else. It looks like that's the end of what I am to cover, right? Yes.
might be a silly question I have about the yoga, but if we're having people inside the pool grounds, near the pool, with nobody watching the pool, is
No,
there?
there will be a pool manager there,
Okay,
no guards.
gotcha. Well, I'm just gonna, know if there was a liability thing, that's all.
And that's all I have for the committee.
Thank you. Property Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Mark.
That's all for me. So, Property and Rec met last evening. It was not their scheduled time. It was rescheduled because there was no quorum at the previous meeting, but there was no quorum at this meeting either. So, it was an informal meeting. We learned about the shed installation, and we are so happy about that. Aquatic facilities and design, right? The one that's doing the comprehensive plan. So it's not yet.
Feasibility.
Feasibility study, that's what I meant. We voted, right, to go with them. He doesn't have a signed contract yet, though, correct?
That's what I understand, so they're going to send us a contract as far as I know, and we will have our solicitor review that when we receive that.
Okay.
But that was, I didn't know that we had not had a contract with them.
Okay.
But we're under we did select them, we did vote on it, so.
Okay. We had a new gentleman with us. His name is Joseph Neville, interested in filling one of our vacancies. He is very experienced with a history in recreation, has a wonderful, extensive resume. I would like to have it on the agenda for council to approve him next meeting to fill one of the vacancies. What else do I have to say? Oh, the Shade Tree Commission spent some time with us. They have come into some trees. So the Shade Tree Commission was running shorthanded for a while, and now they are filling their vacancies, and they would like to really sort of get involved more with the community and getting trees planted and, you know, whether trees removed, getting new ones put in. So there was a sort of a tree grant program, if you will, called Keystone 10,000 Trees, where they could obtain free native trees. So the Shade Tree Commission has ordered 110 free native trees. They will be delivered September 16th, and they presented the rec board with pictures of where they would like to put all these trees, mostly Memorial Park, also some in Kosher, and I asked the people that were visiting with us, Bud Aggerton and I forget the gentleman's name. Who was it? Keith Thomas, if they would like to come to the next meeting and make a presentation for all of us to see and approve, or, I know it makes CH wiggle.
Yeah.
110 trees.
I was out and about today looking at other dead trees, so I already found some areas where they can put some more trees instead of putting them in maybe some other places.
So I think it'd be good, I figured it needed probably council approval for that. So I said I would reach out to them, if we get it on the agenda for next meeting, to hear from them. Also, the rec board was looking at mulch for the playgrounds. CH, do you want to say much about that?
No.
Okay.
Do we have a plan in place for next year to ensure that we're not robbed?
But not, what?
Robbed of our mulch? Like, could we have an agreement?
The plan would be not to use that mulch. I highly recommend not to use that. The plan would be to use the proper wood carpet or playground mulch, which we discussed some costs and some pricing. It is available in gigantic quantities or per location quantities, and it is also available to be installed by the supplier, which they blow it in kind of like insulation. I mean, it's just a tube, they can run it up to 250 feet, so they don't necessarily have to destroy your turf to get to where, you know, they want to go. But we discussed last night, me providing some costs
numbers, yeah.
for first, kind of like, picture framing, outlining the areas, so that, well, this, whatever we do put in stays in and the bad stays out. Of course, they'll be, compliant and accessible for handicap. Simply use pressure treated lumber is the most cost effective way to do that, and probably the most durable as well. So I'm gonna have that information by, mid-September we talked about.
Yes.
That's the next time we're gonna get together, and then we'll talk about that then. And we also discussed, the possibility of using some of our mulch, well, if properly aged. Okay.
That doesn't make me feel confident, but I'm with you. Yeah.
Should come along sometime and see who comes and takes it all. Not necessarily another municipality. It's kind of funny, but anyway, we discussed maybe putting something like that in, since we have that, or we propose, or we assume that we're going to have 600 cubic yards of mulch sitting there in our gigantic pile at the time that we're ready to do this, just to get something in there. That's a possibility, with the understanding that it's gonna have to be removed to put the proper stuff in. You know, we haven't gone forward with any kind of inspections or anything. And even if you would go forward with inspections, all you're paying for is a cost you get, you know, our book would be this thick, I think. It's just recommendations. I went over that with some people. Tanya Brown, you know, has experience in the past with that. Probably one of the reasons she doesn't want to do it now, because, well, once the recommendations come in, then you're on the hook for the liability of, it's all wrong, you know.
Well, and I would encourage the rec board, I know, getting that into the budget.
Yes, we talked about that.
Because I know
Which
that.
is why we were looking for some numbers from CH4, just at least getting, like the edging, the plywood edging around, so getting those numbers so we can at least start there. And we also talked about, the state of our playground equipment, which is, you know, not super great.
Have we talked about grant writers for parks that?
No.
I mean, you know my opinion about having handy accessible playgrounds, and we are past that point. And other municipalities are opening up beautiful parks with grant money, so it might be something to explore with them if maybe Tanya could point us in that direction.
Yeah, they did talk about using the Legacy Park money as a match for, you know, for a grant, so.
As far as just, wasn't the number, a very large number was suggested that someone might have been aware of the new equipment in the area at Friendship Park.
Oh, yeah, what was that number?
That's $1 million.
$1 million, yeah.
Oh, it's huge.
So, obviously, yeah, that is, you know, a Taj Mahal. If you visited it or seen pictures, it's beautiful, but I don't know anything about those products or how, other than the playground equipment, you know, 20 years should be gone.
Yeah, and I think when I look at our playgrounds, they're not accessible to kids with multi-levels, and I think that's where we should be looking at grant money to make sure that all kids of all abilities are able to play together. That's important.
Yep.
And not $1 million.
Well,
The lesser part.
We're partnering with other municipalities
Yeah.
to get that done.
Oh, I do have a picture of the beautiful blue shed that MSC donated.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, can you see?
Able to use the, old concrete slab, so that didn't need to be jacked out and replaced. Everything just.
TV on it already?
No, that's my list. And that is all I have. I yield back, Mr. President.
Okay.
I didn't make my report.
Well, Mr. Weaver.
I'm sorry.
You covered it all.
Yeah, you covered all the Shade stuff. The only thing I will add is, I know, the borough, or our, ordinance, outlines the hours of the shade tree, so I'll take a look at that and see exactly if they need to present or not. I feel like the ordinance provides a lot of leeway towards the shade tree commission, so I'll look into that. And then, the other thing I have to add, was the EAC report, and basically they discussed, their ongoing agenda items like the community garden, the planning for the 2023 recycling event. They will not be having a table at the, at community day. I believe that is all they discussed. And my report.
Okay, on the personnel committee.
The only thing that we are actively pursuing a borough manager, so there is advertising out for that.
The committee has also, I think, almost approved the job description, so we'll be getting that out there shortly. And then there will be a process for council to be involved in, as we continue, so I'll discuss that with everyone offline. Moving on, any citizens' comment? Mr. Trace?
I'm Ron Trace, I'm a member of the Mechanicsburg Volunteer Fire Department. In conjunction with all the activities going on Saturday for Community Day, we are having a chicken barbecue there. We will be on Washington Street. Just to let you be aware, we are making over 400 halves, but we have already pre-sold more than 140 loads. So I would not wait to, if you plan on showing up to get chicken or whatever, I will not guarantee that you will get any afternoon. And once noon comes around, there's no guarantee at all. So
How can you purchase a pre-sale?
I'm not really sure. I'm just doing the cooking part.
Online.
I'm not doing the selling on Facebook.
On Facebook, all right, so everyone get on there and purchase it.
I'm just doing the cooking. So.
You do a great job every
I
day.
got some testimonials, Mayor will testify for me.
Have you ever not sold out?
Yeah, when it rained. And I'm unfortunate to call for it Saturday, so.
I don't believe in rain, so we're good.
Oh, we do, I know. So, that's all.
Mr. Baker?
I just want to thank council for the quick action on Borough Road to avoid a flooding situation down there. And I think you're going about the right way, taking it back as far to the source as you can. So thank you very much.
We thank you because we heard you were very cooperative and helpful in getting stuff done too, so thank you.
That's okay. I got to have a discussion with Travis and I really didn't have a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Stern?
Yeah, I got two questions. Mark Stern, 408 North Wilbur Street. The first question is, council's going to start looking at this, pen waste. I've noticed and I've seen online where they have been missing some of the trash on Fridays out. And then they put it off and then people don't have room for it. It's a constant every week. They're missing a portion of the trash on Fridays out. I mean, they asked for an increase a couple years ago. Their service has gone downhill since. Really has. They need a little kick in the butt to get them back on track. The other thing is the sweeper discussion. You guys have had this in your hands for 10 months. 10 months, and we still haven't made a decision. You're going to bring a company, and if I'm right, that's the same company that the sewer authority authorized a couple of years, I think the same company. Excuse me, I thought it was. I would say it was. They were very, very poor. 10 months. By the time you guys make a decision, it's going to be September. Why even bother? Why even bother? This town looks like crap anyway, because it hasn't been swept for over 2 years. And Bob even said, why bother doing it now? Why don't we just wait at the beginning of the year and do it next year? But 10 months, discussed sweeping. That's disgusting. That is totally disgusting. You're making this town look like, I hate saying, Seattle. And a lot of things going on Facebook about this town becoming another Seattle. Because of the way it's starting to look. Maybe we can get out and start talking to residents and start looking around. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spring. We can have, MS Board Recycling Coordinator Arnold look into the issues with the trash hauler. Any other business? We'll go around the room. Treasury James. I'm sure they need it.
None, thank you.
Perfect.
A big thank you for the chili cook-off. I think it was a great event, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. I hope you guys raised a lot of money. All the chili is really good, but I was full the rest of the day. So thank you very much for having another great event in Mechanicsburg. I love seeing our parks used like that. I think it was great.
Nothing more.
Prior to the next meeting, we'll be distributing a draft of a revised stormwater management ordinance. We talked a little bit, I think, coming up on a mandatory update that we're required to do by DEP, with the intent that you have the opportunity to take a look at it, and then we in September will be potentially taking action on it. The big item is you can't wash your car with detergent, so we will join the ranks of everybody else who's in the middle of that part.
I don't know whether the school district already has plans to replant some of the trees that they've had to take out, but the north side property is pretty barren right now, so
Yes.
there might be the ability to plant some trees over there and use some of
Yeah, I'm
the
not sure,
unused
I'm not sure if the district has plans for that or not. The Shade Tree Commission might know though.
The school district proposed when they did that they would be replacing those trees in some sort of way.
There's plans on file for all of them.
Yeah.
But the playground looks excellent. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Only comment I have is that I attended Stormfest in Camp Hill, and it was a well-attended event in Camp Hill, right by the borough office. There's some food trucks and a lot of vendors and presenters who were presenting on environmental issues and stormwater, and our own MS4 coordinator and recycling coordinator, Barb Arnold, was able to participate in that event. So it was nice event, well attended, and great event for all the municipalities involved, not just Mechanicsburg. And that's all I have. We're adjourned.